Nirav Modi's uncle and associate Mehul Choksi. Now, this is what the government has confirmed, that 69-year-old businessman who bought his citizenship to Antigua gave up his Indian citizenship by submitting his passport to the High Commission there. He's given his new address there as well. It's at Harbour Marks, and Indian agencies say that he's done this because India doesn't have the tradition of dual citizenship. Now remember, the CBI has charged Mehul Choksi with fraud and conspiracy and wants to extradite him. They've already sealed some properties of the family. There are Interpol notices. But because the two countries, Antigua and India, don't have an extradition treaty, does it mean that India will now, with this latest move, find it tougher to get him back? Remember, he, along with Nirav Modi, is accused of cheating Punjab National Bank of 13,000 crores, and they left the country just before the CBI probe started. Now, Home Minister RAJNATH Singh says that the Economic Offenders Bill will be the key to getting him back. But is that right? That is the story that is there today. And to talk about it, we have Mehul Choksi's lawyer, Mudit Jain. He is a lawyer part of the team. And so he will be joining us in just a bit. From the Congress, we have Adil Singh Boparai. From the BJP, we have Vivek Reddy. And Sherbir Panag is a lawyer who specializes in international law. So let me just start with you, Sherbir, as a neutral party over here. What is your take? Because the government is playing it down and saying that, look, this is not a setback. This is just him. But, you know, Mehul Choksi is someone, if we track his story, ever since he escaped, he has been able to, he has released videos when he wanted to. So does the government have the upper hand now, or does he?
Well, Sunitra, I think first on a point of pure technicality, the Indian Citizenship Act as well as our Passport Act does not allow for dual citizenship. So the moment Mehul Choksi has obtained Antiguan citizenship, he would by law be required to, by procedure be required to renunciate his Indian citizenship. So on a technicality, that part comes out. In terms of whether or not it's going to be easier to get him back from Antigua, well, for any sovereign state, extraditing your own citizens is always going to be a slightly tougher bet as compared to extraditing a foreign national. Now, as an Antiguan citizen, he'll have access to their form of appeals, etc., etc. Having said that, and given that there's a very limited and small body of law for extraditions from Antigua, it's not going to be, in my view, and as a personal view, I don't think it's going to remain as complex as to extradite somebody out of Europe or the United States. It's going to be relatively easier, but a time-consuming process nonetheless. And all extraditions are tough. I don't think this is going to be any different.
Okay, it's not going to make that much of a difference, says Sherbir Panag. Mudit Jain, as someone working on Mehul Choksi's team, explain to us what is because, you know, that's what my colleagues have been reporting, colleagues who have covered the CBI for a long time. They say this thing makes it much more tricky.
Ma'am, I think that this is not the case because this is not a mere technicality. My client had revoked his citizenship much back, but then he was asked to pay a fee which he paid, and now it is only sending him back the passport. There is nothing more, nothing less to it. This is as per the Citizenship Act. This will not affect this extradition in any manner.
Okay, it won't affect the extradition in any manner. Adil Boparai, this is an issue which the government, if we see any kind of election rally that takes place, now and then, what is sure to, if there are some factors which keep popping up in election rallies, it is that of getting the offenders back. So Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi does figure as someone in the government speeches and campaign speeches is saying that, look, this is, you know, we are the ones who are making them scared. We've got the Economic Offenders Bill passed and we will get them back.
Well, isn't this part of a script directed by Mr. Modi? I think what's happened with Mehul Choksi renunciating his citizenship is along expected lines. After all, it was the Mumbai police which had granted him a favourable report, and on the basis of that the Antiguan government granted him citizenship. Let's not forget that, and this has all happened under Mr. Modi's watch. The information of his frauds was there with the PMO way back in 2016, and we all know that Mehul Choksi is a close associate of Narendra Modi. There are public videos to indicate that Mr. Modi refers to him as Mehul Bhai. So I think nobody is surprised. This is all part of a pattern. He was allowed to flee. The entire family, lock, stock and barrel, flees days before the FIR has to be registered by the CBI. Who tipped him off? These are fundamental questions. Today, in the previous year, the bank frauds have spiked by 72%. The country's central debt has increased from 54 lakh crore rupees to 82 lakh crore rupees. The economy is being mismanaged. Nirav Modi manages to flee. Jatin Mehta manages to flee. Mehul Choksi manages to flee. I think this government is running a travel agency for the fraudsters of this country.
Vivek Reddy, the point is, we've seen Christian Michel being brought back, but Christian Michel is of course a side character. He is someone who holds the key to people who may have been involved in the Augusta Westland scam. So that is his role. The fact that this entire thing is developing right now, just a couple of months before the elections, is it a reminder to people that, look, the government may claim that they are getting people back, but in reality, there are a lot of people who owe all of us a lot of money who are very comfortable abroad.
Well, I think if your reference to Christian Michael needs to be a little tweaked. I don't think Christian Michael was brought here to depose about people who may have taken bribes. He is brought here to depose about people who have taken bribes. That's the difference. The other thing, Sunetra, is this. The Congress spokesperson raised various issues. Well, as far as the entire Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi issue is concerned, these letter of undertaking mechanism by which money was given started under the UPA regime in 2011. That is how, they were able to generate these huge funds and siphon it off. So we must ask, who brought about such a mechanism that allowed people to steal and dupe this country? This is first. The second issue is this. As soon as Mehul Choksi and Nirav Modi, so much is made about by the Congress spokesperson, as soon as Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi left this country, we have started proceedings against them in right earnest. We have chased them. First is, it commenced with the lodging of FIR, with the suspension of the passport, with directions given to CVC, the ED and the CBI to launch investigations, and then the authorized signatories of the shell companies, they were arrested. Thereafterwards, various procedures have taken place, and the Narendra Modi government stopped the system of fraud, of taking loans by letter of undertakings.
Right.
That was also done by Narendra Modi government. Thereafterwards, we drafted and brought into force the Fugitive Offenders Bill. Which government has done it in which country? Narendra Modi's government has done it for the first time in India, and it's an unprecedented law even for foreign nations.
Okay, Mr.
And that
Reddy.
law said that they must be brought, the fugitive offender. One second. Okay, economic fugitive offender will have to be brought back to India, extradited, and his assets in foreign countries can be attached. Those attachments have also been done with a request filed before the court for attaching Mehul Choski's Thailand factory.
I am so sorry to say.
Okay. Mr. Reddy, your statements right now are making everyone on the panel. Mr. Reddy, your statement is making everyone on the panel want to interject with their own kind of rider.
Seconds.
Okay, so I'm going to give them all a chance to respond to what you're saying. Yeah, your 30 seconds.
So, Nitra ji, this government intercepted a Greenpeace activist at the IGI airport, but rolls out a red carpet for fraudsters who've looted our country worth 70,000 crore rupees.
Okay.
He talks about the Economic Offenders Bill. He has no assets in this country. All his assets are already mortgaged. What are you going to get out of him?
But they've also managed to. They have also managed to, seal off properties in London.
Well, it's a pittance. It's a pittance. Okay. He's managed to defraud us worth thousands of crores, and they get an asset worth 5 crore rupees.
Can
that be actually
Okay, you made your point. Sherbir Panak, what was the point you wanted to make to what Vivek Reddy was saying? Yeah.
There is attachment made of Indian assets also.
So look. The Fugitive Economic Offenders Act is welcome, but I think to be touting it as a magical solution that's going to solve this crisis is entirely wrong and misplaced. first and foremost, assuming you even do get the assets, a mechanism to ensure that the assets go back to those who have been defrauded needs to come up with, and this is an actual lacuna with the Indian legal system and something that the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act does not adequately address. So that's the first point. Secondly, the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act in no way makes extradition from any country easier or makes it more probable. You still have to go through with it. You're still going to face challenges along the lines of prison and human rights conditions. You're still going to face other challenges on weak investigations as we have faced in the past. So long story short is this nitpicking to be able to say that this is a magical solution and it happened under a different government, I think is entirely incorrect. The NPA crisis started in a different government, but the Ministry of Home Affairs at the time at which these two gentlemen left the country was very much the BJP government, and we can't absolve them of this responsibility, and neither can we absolve our law enforcement of this.
I'm sure Mr. Reddy will respond to that, but I just want to go across to Mudit Jain as well, who wanted to say something. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, firstly, Economic Offenders Act is merely an act to say that if you are not returning back, all your assets will be of the government, nothing more, nothing less. It is not affecting the extradition. It does not add to the extradition or subtract to the extradition. Secondly, a point has been made repeatedly that Narendra Modi is connected with Mehul Choksi. I don't think that there is any evidence to that effect. These are all conjectures that have been floated.
Fair enough. Mr. Jain, can I ask you, because it is constantly, every time this issue comes up of the Economic Offenders Bill, would you accept the fact that they are now sealing, much more easier now to seal assets, whether it is abroad or in India, that does add an added pressure to the people facing these charges, right? Would you accept that?
Not so, because attachments are multiple. Not one agency, but multiple agencies are attaching a single person's property over and over again. And the Fugitive Offenders Bill is only attaching the properties already attached, because PMLE does the same thing, the Companies Act does the same thing, then SFIO comes in, and then the Fugitive Economics.
Are you saying no fresh property of Mehul Choksi has been attached till now? We were all shown pictures of his nephew, Nirav Modi's apartment, very fancy apartment in New York, overlooking, Central Park in New York.
That's something I'll not be able to comment upon. So
are you saying that that's not fresh? Because that's what the claim was, that they are getting fresh properties, that they were all proceeds of crime.
Again, it doesn't stem from the
what
stopped the government from doing it earlier. We didn't need the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act to go ahead and seek a worldwide asset freezing order. We did not need it to go to the US authorities and do so. This is it's the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act has not facilitated it. It's something that's an independent action, could have happened in isolation. Asset tracing is not new now. Asset tracing has been going on for years.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Vivek Reddy, what did you want to say?
I think there's a sheer misconception in what the previous panelist is saying. Now, how the Economic Offenders Bill, which was brought into act by the Parliament recently, how it operates is in a totally different landscape. What happens is there is an application made, whether it is multiple agencies or whatever. Application is made before the same court under Section 4, and once the application is made, the court takes a decision. And once the court issues a declaration regarding attachment of foreign assets, after he is declared a fugitive offender, what happens is it is enforced as a foreign court judgment. So therefore, the Indian court in foreign jurisdictions, if suppose a foreign court passes an order, Indian court has to respect it under Indian law. In the same way, when you seize assets from a foreign country through the Indian courts jurisdiction is exercised as a foreign court's judgment in the foreign country, and that's when it takes effect. So therefore, the misconception that this will not
only if we have a reciprocal arrangement. Only if we have a reciprocal arrangement.
We definitely have to wait and see how it plays out.
It's not de facto acceptable. I'm sorry, I think that's an entirely incorrect position of law. That's an entirely incorrect position of law.
Mr. Reddy, you're being fact-checked right now by the...
Mr. Reddy, my apologies. That's an entirely incorrect position of law.
Can I comment?
Entirely incorrect, because the foreign courts do not.
That is
Well,
the
even
correct
Mr.
position.
Mehul Choksi, lawyers
Kindly read the
contradicting
act.
you now.
Kindly read the
Offenders Act
Declaration
will
of
say
Economic
if you do
Offender.
not appear in 10 days, you have
Kindly
no
No,
defense.
Mr.
kindly
Reddy,
read
you
the
have
Declaration
okay.
of Economic
Please
Offender.
don't go by the other
and the
panelists.
ultimate attachment
You
in the
have
text.
the
cannot be enforced
you have
because
the
it would be an ex
neutral,
parte order.
non-political panelists telling you that that is not how it works, that isn't the reality of it, and you.
Well,
you
that
are-
is-
Final point.
that is-
Mr. Reddy
that is-
needs
that
to.
opinion
Mr.
is
Reddy,
left to
please have the
them.
patience to listen.
That opinion is left to
Mehul
them.
Choksi
But this is a unique piece
doesn't.
of legislation.
Mehul Choksi doesn't have physical assets worth 13,000 crore rupees. Let's understand what is the modus operandi of all these fraudsters. They route the money, they place the money in foreign tax havens, in bank accounts, which are untraceable. So the only way of getting the money back is by bringing him back on Indian soil. Otherwise, Mr. Reddy can continue till the cows go back home. You're not going to get him back. You're not going to get the money
Okay,
back.
on that point-
Seizing 200 crore rupees, 50 crore rupees, 15 crore rupees is nothing.
Okay.
We're talking about a fraud which runs into 60,000 crore rupees, which has taken place under Mr. Modi's
There
watch,
is a letter
and Amit Shah and
to
Mr. Modi
extradite him.
allowed
There
him
is
to
a
flee.
request to
You
extradite
can't run
him.
away from this.
Okay,
You
you-
allowed him
Unlike
to
the
flee.
Congress,
This is all a
unlike the
charade now.
Congress that never extradited.
He's
an
your Mehul
enemy.
Bhai. That's why you
wait,
allowed him to
There's
flee.
There's no
lie.
point in
With the-
having
with
the
the truth and
Congress
the false
BJP.
scandal.
There's no
We
point, sir.
are
Mr.
extraditing
Reddy,
Mehul Choksi.
Adil Boparai, there's no point in having that kind of Congress BJP bickering over here. We're trying to get to the bottom of it, which I wanted to ask Mudit Jain. Mr. Jain, your client has given a whole range of excuses, from saying that he can't take such a long flight, and then he took the citizenship over there, and then there's a case going on. So what can you tell us about the strategy from now on? He's now given up his citizenship. Is he facing the law? He's been charge sheeted by the CBI. Is he facing the law, and he faces such serious charges?
Ma'am, on the point of charge sheet, all the assets, maximum assets have been attached under an FIR in which I have not been charge sheeted. Firstly. Secondly, you say that the client is not coming back because there is a long flight. You have to understand.
That
This
was
is a
one of the
27-hour
reasons that
flight.
he gave. He
27-hour
cited.
flight that a person has to take who is not advised by his doctors to take the said flight. So how can the said person come? He has volunteered a lot of times to give information, but he has not been responded to.
Because they want him to come back and face the law.
There is a prejudice that is being created, ma'am. You have to understand
Correct.
that in that prejudice, in such a media trial, a person coming
It's not
back
a media
will
trial.
face
He faces investigation by the CBI. They've
All
charged
runaway
him.
offenders.
who has led to attachments in an FIR which has not led to a charge sheet.
Okay.
You see, deliberately the BJP is
This
helping
is
him.
what all runaway
They're helping him
offenders say.
deliberately. They're
They
not
say they
attaching
cannot
his
have
property in the
resigned
right
in
charge sheet, in the
Parliament
right
to take
the
case,
wealth of this
and
country
they
and run
are
away.
deliberately doing this so that he
Because
gets
they're
away with
happy
all
with the
this.
wealth.
No,
So here's
But
the
you can't
bonhomie.
reach India.
They're helping them even in the enforcement process.
No, Adil Boparai, I just want to bring it back to course. Sherbi Panag, one of the things that the authorities
Impossible.
say is that they're going to
Don't
use
live in a dream
the
world.
fact. One second, Mr. Reddy. The fact that we don't have Sherbi Panag, the fact that we don't have an extradition treaty with Antigua, authorities say what they're going to use is some Commonwealth law which allows someone within the Commonwealth, if they're wanted by another Commonwealth country, you can use them to get that person, that charged person back. How often has that been used? And second, do you see that being successfully being utilized, that particular legal provision being utilized by the Indian government?
Yes, I think Sunetra, you brought the
Sunitra,
right
I asked
point.
Mr. Panag.
The
Mr.
lack of
Mr.
the
Reddy,
lack
I
of
asked
the
Mr.
lack
Panag,
of
the
an
lawyer.
extradition
That it has
treaty
to
or the lack of a mutual legal assistance.
Sorry.
A lack of a mutual legal assistance treaty will always be an impediment. However, any extradition, with or without a treaty, is a joint political process. India will have to come out, use its geopolitical weight with Antigua in order to effectuate this, fight their local court system, and nothing is going to be able to expedite that process, and we are going to have to prepare ourselves for that fight. Whether yes, toe to toe, having an extradition treaty versus not having an extradition treaty, definitely an extradition treaty will help the process, but not having one will in no way vitiate this. And I don't think one could attribute this as the fault of the government to not have an extradition treaty. So it's a difficult process. It's going to involve a lot of effort from not just the Ministry of External Affairs, but the Ministry of Home Affairs to work together and to use law, to bring in law enforcement authorities as well as our diplomatic channels to make this happen.
And yeah, and speaking about diplomatic channels, let's not forget that the government has been talking to them, and they even committed to the fact that they will. Sorry, Mr. Jain, you are saying something?
I am saying that one fact to the advantage of my client is that he will be facing facts and not the prejudice there. So the law will take course on the basis of the facts and without any prejudice.
Well, I don't know what prejudice you're talking about.
This is all a charade, Sunitra ji. They lack political will. They're not going to do anything about it. It is just for public consumption. Once a person flees to a country, to a Caribbean tax haven where you don't have an extradition treaty, it's extremely difficult to get him back. The economic offenders bill, the fugitive offenders bill will do nothing because he doesn't have physical assets worth 15,000 crore rupees. How do you recover the money? That's the critical point which Mr. Reddy is not answering. You get the money back through these legislations if you have physical assets. Choksi doesn't have those assets. There must be money stashed away in bank accounts which are untraceable. There must be a maze of companies guarding that money. What does Mr. Modi plan to do about that?
So, Mr. Reddy, final question to you. Do you think, in light of what we've heard from other panelists and from you, do you think perhaps it's wiser, instead of boasting about all the people that we are getting back from abroad, it's to acknowledge also that there have been some people, quite a few people, whether it's Nirav Modi and his entire family, and Mehul Choksi and others, and Vijay Mallya, that is quite a few of them have slipped through the cracks?
Well, see, Sunitra, the government of India is taking a slew of measures in bringing them back. First, let us understand that. The Congress spokesperson is unable to understand, and he is trying to say that this is all outward maneuvers. That is a very sad understanding of the reality. The Modi government has taken a slew of measures. There is an Interpol lookout notice, passports are suspended, extradition requests are made, the fugitive offenders laws are brought into force upon Mehul Choksi, and the law is getting to his collar. He will definitely come back to India. At least we are not like the Congress. Let us tell you, a special law was enacted in order to effectuate his realization of his assets.
Something which could have been done under the PMLA. Something which could have been done by the OED.
Where there were international
There was no vacuum.
Classic
example. There was no vacuum. The PMLA could have done the same thing.
The Congress allowed him to die with the same details.
This is all posturing. You allow somebody to flee, you roll out the red carpet, and then you come on television and lecture salaries receivers.
So, two aspects of the debate. The Congress,
you have allowed.
Give us a date. Give us a date.
Because you allowed Adnan Kostagi to die.
Okay, we've heard both of your points of view. We're totally out of time.
You did not extradite him even though you
could.
could.
As a neutral person on this panel,
that is Congress culture.
Do you share this optimism? Is there any precedent of getting back someone from the Caribbean?
Not that I know of or could think of at this juncture. All I can say that it's going to be a tough battle. But what I would encourage Mr. Reddy to take back from this is that if we run on the hope that the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act is going to magically bring him back, I think that's entirely misplaced.
Okay, Sherbir Banag and Mudit Jain, Adil Boparai, Vivek Reddy, thanks very much for giving us all aspects of this debate. That story, of course, continues of Mehul Choksi and India's pursuit of him and other economic offenders.